What's up, Mortgage Coach community? I am fired up. I'm having my third interview with Darius Mirshahzadeh. Did I say
Pretty
that?
good. Pretty good.
Pretty good. Pretty good. So for anyone that doesn't know who Darius is, first of all, he's the author of a book, The Core Value Equation, pure gold. I love it because it helps you get more clear and better document your values. And I love it because part of his whole mantra is get your values so clear that not only are they a competitive advantage internally, guys, they're a marketing tool. It's like 360-degree values oriented business, which is what we're all about. Now, Darius, you and I have talked before. We have both been trained by Vern Harnish of Scaling Up. Did you ever do EOS training and traction, or are you just pretty familiar with it?
No, yeah, I got heavily trained. I had a scaling up coach, and then I got into the EOS stuff just as we started reading and kind of took a couple pieces and played with those in our business. So I never hired anyone or was trained. I know Gino and talked to him a couple times, but no, that was more just yet another tool that we started paying attention to. So
well, it is such a good tool. In fact, I have interviewed the #1 loan officer in America multiple times recently. It's Shop Benosian, and he's going to be doing a keynote for the Modern Mortgage Summit. The title of his keynote is the CEO mindset. So I mean, this is a #1 guy at guaranteed rate, #1 guy in the country. And when you talk to him about what he credits his success to, he talks about EOS, he talks about leadership, he talks about how he's taken systems and practices to scale his team. And so I would love, I know you've got these 9 things that you want to talk about. So why don't you give us a little backstory on the 9 things and how you got them, and then let's get into the 9 things.
Yeah. So I think it's also important for those in the audience that don't know me. I was the former CEO of the Money Source, which is one of the top lenders in the United States. I grew that company from 30 to 1,000 employees in 3 years. Company now manages about 100 billion in mortgage servicing rights. So I grew up in mortgage. My first company I built, where I started learning a lot of this stuff, was a number 40 in the Inc. 500. So I'm no stranger to high growth. And I was a broker and an LO and all these things. So after 20 years of playing in the world of growing businesses, I exited TMS. And I started working with CEOs of some, I don't want to name my clients, but some of my clients are probably your bosses, your boss's boss's boss. And so the large lenders are some of my clients, but I started working with them. And what I realized was I was taking, I had played with all these scale systems, whether it's an EOS traction or whether it's Scaling Up by Vern, and they're great systems. And there's a lot to do there. But what I realized at TMS was I was really taking those systems and playing with them and creating my own system. And it really followed this idea of Pareto's principle, which is what's the 20% of the things I need to do that's going to give me 80% of the results. And those are great systems. I applaud anyone that uses any system. But for me, I'm a simple guy, and I struggled with certain parts of these different scale systems because, like probably all the listeners, we're running our business, I'm in the business, in mortgage business in particular. I was in the business of making loans and servicing loans, and then hold on, slow down. I got to go do the scale stuff. It becomes its own job. And what I realized, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine who coaches on some of this stuff. I said, I just don't have time for all this stuff, and so what I realized was, just like Pareto's principle, there was 20% of the things I did that I made my own that got me 80% of the results. And I've since now working with some of these high growth companies and really taking my own systems and bringing them into these businesses. I realized that there's only 9 things you have to do and do well. And I call that the scale map method. And so, we're doing a special event where we're teaching this because for me, I'm working with, multi-billion per month lenders out there. And that's not the same as a guy that's running a team of 5 LOs, right? It's a totally different world, but the principles are the same. And really what it comes down to, what I realize is there's 3 things you got to nail if you want to scale your business. And people get really, Dave, they really get, I think, distracted by the sexy stuff, right? Like we all do, right? Shiny object syndrome. We get distracted by the sexy stuff, but no one wants to go do the blocking and tackling and the meat and potatoes, right? But the gold is in the meat and potatoes. And probably my best example, that's UWM. Those guys are block and tackle maniacs, right? Like he scaled his company because he was really good about blocking and tackling, right? And there's probably no better example in the mortgage industry of that. And so Scale Map's really born of this idea of what are the 9 things we have to do to focus? And it comes down to three areas. Number one, MAP stands for mission. A stands for accountability, and P stands for performance. And what I did is I took what are the 3 most important parts around mission. And when I say mission, I don't mean like mission statement. I mean, where are you trying to go as a business? And we break it into 3 areas. One is what I call RISE targets, which stands for what are the 4 most important 10, 3, and 1 year targets. I don't care if you're, again, a top producing LO, you got to pick your 10, your 3, and your 1 year targets, and they have to do work for you. I could say, hey, I want to go to New York and hop in my car in LA. And if I start without an iPhone and without a map and start driving, I don't know how long it's going to take me to get there. Maybe I won't ever get there. Maybe I'll end up in South America, right? But if I say I want to go to New York and I sketch out a plan to get there, at least I know I'm going to go in the right direction, right? And so setting these targets, I call them RISE targets, really gives us an idea of where we want to go. And I think a lot of people, they pick these pie in the sky numbers and don't ever think through how they're going to get there. So I always tell people, hey, you got to decide. You can't just like, a dream without a plan, or excuse me, what is it? A goal without a plan is a dream, right? And if you want it to be a real goal, you got to build a plan for it. So we established RISE targets to get there. The second thing I think that most people get wrong is this idea around planning the next 13 weeks and the next year out, right? So let's say I do my 10 and my 3 and my 1 year targets. We'll use mortgage codes for an example. My guess is you guys have a goal where you want to be by the end of 2022. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, as any good team should have. I should have a plan on where I want to be at the end of 2021 and at the end of 2022. And so if I have a 1 year goal from now to be at X volume by the end of 2022, Y mix of purchase and refi, well, it's not like you just go back to work and aimlessly look up 52 weeks from now and see where you landed. The way I believe you do it is you need to have initiatives for the next 12 months focused on growth, operational excellence, marketing, whatever the soft spots are in your company. And I do a thing called WOI assessment, which is a much more impactful version of what the traditional SWOT analysis. And from that, we figure out what are the 4 areas of the business that we need to focus on to build what I call a 4x4 growth map, right? So the 4x4 growth map is what are the 4 areas I need to focus on over the next 12 months? And what are the 4 things I need to get done in the next 13 weeks to move the needle for the quarter? So I really like to take things and kind of reverse engineer the outcomes. If I'm focused on the right things over the next 13 weeks, then I'm going to hit my quarterly initiatives, and if I do that for the next 4 quarters, I'm going to hit my 1 year goals. If I do that over the next 12 months, I should hit my 3 year goals. And if I do hit my 3 year goals, I'll hit my 10 year goals. So it's around focusing on the right things. And Scale Map says, look, get really, really intentional about those things. Because what I found was this, Dave, was most people, and you think to yourself right now, we like to do what we like to do. We like to knock off the easy things off of our list. And our team's no different. And I learned it the hard way when I was at TMS. When I was at TMS, we do these quarterly, planning sessions, and we'd walk away with 25 items. That's why I say 4x4. You get 4 items. Pick the 4 that matter most and go do them. Because we'd have 25, and we'd knock 20 of them off the list or 15 of them off the list, but they were the easy 15. Your team's going to work on the stuff that's easy. Why? Because it's BAU. They're focused on business as usual. And so for me, it's focus on the 4 initiatives and the 4 things that need to happen in the next 13 weeks so I can hit my 1 year goals. So that's really M and mission. It's around picking a direction and getting really intentional about the work that needs to get done now, a year from now, 3 years from now, and 12 and 10 years from now, so I can hit those big, big, beautiful goals a decade from now,
So love it. 4 things: accountability. And I don't know whether you want to, because I know we've got a hard stop at about 15. If you want to riff off the 9 or you want to break them down. But we've got accountability as number 2. And what was number 3 again?
And number 3 is performance. So I wanted to kind of lay the groundwork, because once I get that cadence, that discipline around building a long-term plan and breaking it into these 13-week sprints for the 1 year to hit my 1 year goal, that doesn't do anything if I don't have accountability around it. And what I teach people is, look, you really need to nail 3 things in your business. You need to nail meetings, and you need to nail one-on-ones, and you need to nail your org chart. And you said, org chart, Darius, that's weird. What do you mean? And I say this, you can't have, people have the most messiest org charts. I can't tell you how often the org chart doesn't do anything. It's this documented HR piece of paperwork that doesn't have any accountability baked into it, has no strategy built into it. And I do a thing called rule of one org chart. So rule of one org chart becomes a strategic tool for how you want to grow the business 1 and 3 and 10 years from now. And all these systems need to talk to each other, right? So the problem is you have all these different systems. They don't talk to each other. They're one more thing you got to build in your business. But accountability comes down to cadence, discipline, and simplicity. And there's this really interesting Japanese word that I liken to all of this, which is called shibui. Have you ever heard of that before, Dave?
I have, but I don't remember what it is.
It means that there's complexity and simplicity.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what we want to do is focus on, again, what are the things that are going to move the needle? And what I say is, look, if you could get your org chart right, and for a smaller, like a team, like, you know, you're a 5-person LO branch or something, maybe the org chart's less important, but the next two things really matter, which is how are you showing up and doing one-on-ones with your team? Is there accountability, or is it loosey-goosey? We're just showing up and BSing about the pipeline? Or is there actual accountability? Am I actually investing in them and extracting accountability out of them in my one-on-one? I call that 30 every 30, 30 minutes every 30 days. You got to meet with your team. We have a framework for that. And the most important part of accountability is what I call my 15-90 meeting rhythm. And so do you have the right 15-minute meetings that are happening daily? And does your 90-minute meeting that happens once a week, and in Traction, he calls that a level 10. I have a different spin on it. But is your 90-minute accountability meeting making you hit those 13-week targets? Right? Is there are you checking in on a weekly basis on the things that need to happen most so that you can get to those 1 year, 3 year, and 10-year targets? Your weekly accountability meeting, I call that the weekly 90, needs to happen consistently and needs to be done in a very specific way. So now that you have a mission and accountability, well, you got to have performance. I got to be measuring the right things in the business. So for me, I like to look at 3 things. And the biggest one is a thing I call 3x3 KPIs, which are a lot of businesses, they have way too many KPIs. And I'm like, look, like analysis paralysis. What are the 3 things I care about? It's profit, experience, expense, and quality. And in mortgage, this matters a lot. I could do a ton of loans that are profitable and they could be poisonous to the company, right? So we got to have profit. We got to have good expense. So high revenue, low expense, the right expense, and good quality. And we want to look at leading and lagging indicators. And I always teach people, a lot of times people focus only on lagging indicators. What are the outcomes? Oh, how many loans do we do this month? That's a lagging indicator. How many submissions do we get? Arguably, that's a lagging indicator. What are the components to success? That's your that's a lagging indicator. The leading indicator is the components of success. How many calls did your salespeople make today? How much talk time did they have? How many realtors did they send thank you cards to? Those are going to be your leading indicators, right? How many call outs did your underwriter or processor do to thank the client for their business? Again, leading indicator. So these are the things. How many touches on a file? That's going to be a leading indicator. But we don't measure these things consistently.
So we've been doing this TCA a day challenge in the mortgage coach community, and the measurables are: how many leads did you get? How many credit reports did you run? So we can figure out lead to conversion. How many price exceptions did you have? And then how many total cost analysis? And one of the things that we have found over and over and over, test after test, is that, you know, when a loan officer delivers a total cost analysis at the point of sale, that their conversion is radically better and it improves within 2 weeks. And then the other metric that I've been surprised just how much disparity there is price exceptions. Yeah. Some loan officers are costing the company, I don't know, single digits in basis points for price exceptions. And some loan officers are costing the company 25, 35 basis points and price exceptions. And I'm coming to this conclusion that conversion and price exceptions not only are 2 of the biggest indicators of profits, but of quality. You know, like a loan officer who, you know, is costing the company 5 basis points versus someone that's costing 30 is delivering a much better service experience within the sales process. But I don't think a lot of people measure that. Do you?
Yeah, you know, I think the people that are smart do, and you're kind of hitting on what's really important is what gets measured gets managed, right? And so, you know, these are great examples of leading indicators that lead to the lagging indicator, which is profitability per loan, right? But what ends up happening, and what I believe that one of the keys to scale is discipline and cadence, right? Is, are you measuring that stuff on a daily basis, weekly basis, a monthly basis? It doesn't need, I tell people there's 9 measurements. Pick your 3 for profit, for revenue, right? For top to front end, right? That's going to be the things you just talked about: credit pools, apps out, apps in. You know, you can kind of pick whatever's right for you. But I want 2 leading, 1 lagging for revenue. I want 2 leading, 1 lagging for expense. One of the ones for leading for expense, to your point, would be price exceptions. And I want 2 leading and 2 lagging, and 1 lagging. Sorry, so 2 leading, 1 lagging for quality, right? And that might be, you know, you got to kind of think, because everyone's business is a little bit different. Might depends if you're refi versus purchase versus govy. You know, there might be some different things you look at. But you have to measure it, to your point. And I think that you're kidding on something that's really important, which is A, be thoughtful about what you're measuring, and B, do it consistently if you want a better outcome. And you probably know this question better than I do, is when you look at people in Mortgage Coach that are the top performers, are they diligent, disciplined, and consistent when measuring these different performance indicators?
The most profitable ones are. So guys, if you're listening to this, if you are a sales leader, whether you're a branch manager, regional leader, or head of production, and you're not measuring conversion, credit report pull versus loan turned in, and you're not measuring by loan officer weekly and monthly, what are they costing you price exceptions? Missed opportunity. I'm going to put a link down below to a LinkedIn article I recently wrote on this. So I know we only got about 4 minutes left. How about rifting off the 9 high level? And then also, I want to make sure anybody in the Mortgage Coach community knows how to learn more from you. So let's riff off the 9, and then let's tell everybody how they can follow up and learn more.
Yeah, so I'm calling this the Scale Map method, and I'm just bringing this to market right now. It's something I've been doing with private clients for about a year. The M stands for mission, which is, again, building your RISE targets, doing your WOI assessment of what's important for the business, building your 4x4 growth map. The A stands for accountability, and that's 3 different parts. Rule of 1 org chart. Do you have that accountability built into your org chart and strategy built into your org chart? Do you have a 15-90 meeting rule? Are you doing the right meetings the right way? And last but not least, on accountability, is the 30 every 30. How are you doing your one-on-ones with your team to develop them and hold them accountable? The P is for performance, and the 3 areas of that are your 3x3 KPIs, your 5-question pulse surveying, both internal and external for your clients, and last but not least, I call it C3 P&L, which is, are you using your P&L as a strategic tool to generate more P&L? And this all comes into the system I call Scale Map, and I'm doing a boot camp. I'm actually almost sold out on it, but we're going to be opening up a new date for it. So anyone that's interested to learn more about this, doesn't matter if you're a huge company or a small company, it's all the same. As I said before, Shibui, the simplicity, the complexity is in the simplicity. So the bigger you are, the more simple you want it. The smaller you are, the more simple you want it. But yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm working with everything from large to small clients on this. This is a way for me to bring what I'm doing with private clients to the smaller teams. And it's you go to dariusclass.com and you can learn more about Scale Map. And if you're interested, you can schedule a time to talk with my team about participating in our Scale Map boot camp.
Well, I love how simple it is. 3 big ideas: mission, accountability, performance, and then 3 concepts within those 3 equals 9, everybody. Make sure you take some notes. Make sure you write that down. I'm a big fan. I endorse Darius. You know, people that work with Darius, they grow their business in a scalable, sustainable way. And in the mortgage business, that's not so hard to do. One thing we know for sure is that the market's going to change from month to month. Rates are going to change. Economic factors are going to change. Industry guidelines are going to change. Your people are going to change. So you need to have systems and processes that help you scale and help you do it in an orderly way. So brother, thank you. So that's Darius Class, CLASS.com.
Yeah, dariusclass.com. And what we're doing is we're hosting a 3-day boot camp where people will come and build their entire Scale Map for 2022. So anyone that's trying to get ready for 2022, Scale Map's the way to go. And you go to dariusclass.com and you can reserve a spot to talk to my team about what it looks like to participate and see if you qualify to participate.
Darius, man, you are a gift to the Mortgage Coach community. I love your leadership. I love how you show up in social media, man. Thank you for your time, brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
All right, guys, give this a like if you got value from it. Share it with managers. If you're not a manager, share it with them. By the way, guys, you're a manager. Even if you're a brand new loan officer, this is your first year in the business, you're a leader. Start putting this stuff together. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Peace out. Thanks, David.
Take it easy, brother.
Later, brother.